Shall we discuss that manager that we didn't understand DBs and when converting extent? Yeah, yes, we could discuss that. And because
Richie
I'm
can
with you,
discuss that.
I'm with your manager. Everything to Cassandra.
I'm going to take a nap while you talk about that.
Yep, Let's do that because we don't need relations anymore. That's
Sure.
my opinion. That's my opinion. I can have an opinion, right? Why?
You can have all the opinions you want. They're free.
Because I was a manager. I was a manager, and the management's always right.
There you go. I was, well, I did manage people for a bit. I never had the manager title. I was a supervisor though. The supervisor.
So wait, so you didn't get the management pay?
I didn't have the management title.
Oh,
I was never the manager or director or anything like that. I was just supervisor. Hey, super. All right. Getting some more questions in. That's a long one though.
good.
That's a long one.
So you would always, whenever the NoSQL question pops up, the whole thing that comes up.
Yeah.
The first thing you need to go to, how are we going to report off this? With our current reporting solutions, how do we report off of Cassandra? And then that's when the discussion just kind of falls apart, right? Because everything's a programmatic object. I need to access that with some sort of SDK, and there's just
In words.
It falls apart.
English words, not in Rogue One words.
No. You may fire when ready.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, it's close enough to 15 past, so let's
let's do it.
let's get this firing squad on the way. All right. Let's see. Our first question: should TempDB be on SSD? Gosh, that depends on so many things.
If you can, yes.
There's a good one. That's a good answer. I would expand that a little bit, and I would say, well, if you're on a VM, you're kind of hosed, and you're not going to get that local storage good. You don't get the VM goodness if you start using local storage. So careful there. If you're using TempDB heavily and you have local storage anyway, a bare metal server, there's really no reason for it not to be on SSD. Or if you really want to step things up, throw it on a PCIe flash memory or flash drives and really let that thing zoom around. Anything else on that? I don't think so.
Nope. If you can, do it.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Next question down. What is the #1 issue with latency? Is it usually a sub-storage problem? No. It's usually a pre-storage problem. It's usually you have a SAN, which is perfectly capable of giving you data in a crappy little pipe that is really incapable of serving that data to the server. SQL Server CPUs can consume a whole lot of megabytes per second, like hundreds of megabytes per second, and usually the problem is that you have like a 1 gig iSCSI or a 2 gig or 4 gig fiber channel, or even like just a single 8 gig fiber channel. If you have multiple sockets and multiple cores, you're not going to be able to serve data up fast enough to keep all your CPUs and stuff busy, unless you have enough RAM to cache everything so that you don't go and poop all over the storage every time you run a query.
But jumbo frames.
Those will solve everything. Large pages and jumbo frames.
Everything. Lock with jumbo frames and
large memory pages. What else is there?
Boom.
Servers don't.
Done.
Don't even have to hit You don't even have to hit F5. The query just runs for you.
No, it just starts coming at you.
Yeah, it's crazy. All right. Oh boy, partition tables. What is the best type of column to parse on? Is it date? No, it is the column, at least for me, it is the column that's most likely going to end up in your where clause so that you get good partition elimination from your queries. Mm-hmm. So if you don't have date anywhere in your where clauses, or your date isn't like in a quality or a range that's going to fit a partition, or fit parts of partition in your where clauses, don't even bother with date. Do it on something that's going to be in your doodads. It can certainly kind of lopside partitioning if you do it by like customer ID, and you have some customers who order a ton of stuff and some customers who hardly order anything. But if date isn't in your where clause, partitioning is not going to do you any good.
But I will say 90% of the time, I think it's going to be date. Because you're going to
Sure.
want to start archiving things and rolling things off and doing that kind of stuff. If for warehouses, it's going to be date. I'm going to assume that it's going to be date. But like you said, bro, if you need the partition elimination because you have a, I don't know, 6 terabyte table, then you better use that date in your queries. Otherwise, you're just going off to the abyss and spiking things, and all of a sudden things.
You're scanning the whole table anyway.
Yeah. Yep.
You may, if you're gonna, try out something like partitioning, you may want to give yourself the easy button first and try partition views out, rather than going straight to table partitioning, because you get a lot of the same magic without a lot of the same, sort of stifling rules and weird stuff that can happen. So one thing to test, if you want to test out your theory, is you look at partition views. I have a post on it from a while back where I turned the votes table in Stack Overflow database into a partition view, and there's pictures and execution plans and all sorts.
Of course you have a post. Of course you have a post.
I have to contribute something around here.
What? Well, you have to contribute. What about me? I'm not. What am I doing?
I don't know.
I don't know either. I live in the cloud. That's what I do.
GIFs.
Yes. Yes. I contribute GIFs. And I'm damn good at it, too.
GIFs in chat.
But going back to the partition, you can put an index across the entire table, and that will be fine, but you lose that partition swapping. Yeah. So I had a solution for a client where that was the actual solution. It's like, well, the partition swapping isn't really for us. It's really the partition elimination, except these few queries. And these few queries, we need them to run, within the hour. So we threw indexes on there. We said the hell with partition swapping, and if they ever needed to do it, they'd have to drop the indexes, swap it out, and then rebuild the index again.
So what Richie's talking about is non-aligned indexes, where the indexes aren't built aligned to the cluster, to the partitioning key, and so you lose all the swap in and swap out magic. That stuff's well documented in books online if you want to go ahead and take a look there. All right, let's scroll on down a little bit. Oh, that's a long question. I'm going to save that for later. What does SOS scheduler yield mean? Means that your query has yielded its spot on the CPU to another query because it did not have what it needed to run. So what happens is a query will start running, and it'll get a thread, and that thread will be on a scheduler or a CPU, and it'll sit there, and it'll say, I'm going to run, I'm going to run, I'm going to run. And if it doesn't have everything it needs to keep going within 4 milliseconds, it exhausts its quantum, and then it is shuffled to the back of the queue, and SQL Server says, wait your turn. Something else is going to try to run now. And so something else will go and try to run. And it's just kind of on and on until everything actually runs. So
I love that term, quantum. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yes, exhaust the quantum. But SOS schedule yield isn't usually a big deal unless you have sort of like long average weights on it. So if you see like long average weights on SOS scheduler yield, it can be a sign of pretty bad CPU pressure. If you see a lot of short average weights on SOS scheduler yield, it usually means that your CPUs are just dead dog slow. I just stopped myself from saying like 4 curse words in a row, saying dead dog slow instead.
Oh, unlike the new beast that you're putting together, that will not be dead dog slow.
No, that was going to be
CPU
happy dog. Happy dog. I have most of the parts for it. This is exciting. No. This is exciting. You know what? If we run out of questions, I'm going to start showing people computer parts. That's what I'll do.
Ooh, no more questions, people. Yeah, computer parts are fun.
Let's see. I have learned the hard way that you have to give permissions to use user-defined types. Do you know why SQL Server would require you to have permission to use user-defined types? Nope. I do not know. I am not great at security stuff. You might want to ask a fellow named Denny Cherry about that, or go buy his book, Securing SQL Server. There might be something in there about it. I don't do a lot of security work. I hate roles, permissions, and all that garbage.
Yeah, or K. Brian Kelly, one of the two.
Yeah,
those
totally.
those are our two
Totally.
security people go to.
Let's see. Is there an actual time where rebuilding reorg indexes would benefit queries that always have where equals GUID? I know your stance and don't disagree, but need to be able to explain why. So if your where clause is on a GUID, that brings up an interesting architectural question. Because it sounds like so let me start from the beginning. If you have a GUID column in your table, a lot of people will say this GUID is unique, so it's going to be my primary key. And they also make that their clustered index, and that's where they shoot themselves in both feet with large, large cannons. Because with GUIDs, unless you use new sequential ID or your app uses a sequential GUID, you're inserting data all over the place. Think about if you, say, were partitioning and you used a sequence and you only had the numbers 1 to 100 over and over again. That would be great for like hash partitioning because you could just dump everything into your hash partitions over these 100 numbers. But with a GUID, you're just sticking random data in all over the clustered index, just getting shuffled around, and it can be painful. In those cases, you typically want a lower fill factor until fragmentation kind of levels off. So beyond that, you want the GUID to be the non-clustered primary key, and then stick your primary key on an ascending column that kind of gives you an append-only workload.
Yeah.
So and when you do those two, so actually that's three things. So the non-clustered primary key, the clustered index on an ascending column, and the lowered fill factor on the GUID columns, on the GUID index, you do yourself a lot of favors as far as page splits, fragmentation, and sort of stuff happening all over the place. And in those cases, you will have to rebuild or reorg less frequently because you will have diminished fragmentation to a point where it's much less of a problem.
Yeah, and if you're getting your GUIDs from some other source other than the database, such as .NET, there's a way that you can order your GUIDs so that they're in the same order as SQL Server, because SQL Server handles its GUIDs still differently than .NET does. I did a post on that many, many years ago. It's on jors.com. And I still get lots of hits for this thing. I don't understand why we need to figure out the order of GUIDs to align with SQL Server nowadays. Back then, I had an Entity Framework 1.0 problem, but we don't have these problems anymore. So
some people might.
Some people
still have people on SQL Server 2000. Some people align have Entity Framework 1.0 problems. You don't know.
So you have there's a way you could do some bit swapping to align those GUIDs so that they're in the same format as SQL Server.
Dirty.
Yeah, so it was kind of messy trying to figure out how this stuff worked. And then everything starts aligning up, and you won't get like these big blocks of, oh, these were from SQL Server coming from a load, and oh, these were not. These were coming from the .NET application. And so so they're all in. They'll still be in different order somewhat, but they won't be as stark.
There we go. All right, next question. I'm getting the resource semaphore wait type while a bulk insert via SSIS is running. Do you have a rule of thumb on how to handle that besides more memory? Stop everything else from running. You can use resource governor to limit, if you're on Enterprise Edition, you can use resource governor to limit the amount of a memory grant your query can ask and get. And if you're on, I guess, let me rattle off the edition. SQL Server 2012 SP3, 2014 SP2, or 2016 at all, you have min grant percent and max grant percent query hints where you can set minimum and maximums for memory grants at the query level. I don't know if that works with bulk insert, though. I couldn't tell you, and I've never tested that. That's a really interesting question. Let me know if you come up with anything. Let's see, we have a question here. If you could only watch one baseline for a SQL Server database, what would it be? Wait stats. All of them, just wait stats. That's what I would look at. I would run SP Blitz first, which you can get from firstresponderkit.org. I would just take 30-second samples of that, and I would log it, and I would trend it, and that's all I would watch is wait stats. I would say, look at the things I can make better with wait stats. I don't care about anything else. It's all about what the server's waiting on. I don't care if there's a CPU spike for 10 milliseconds. I don't care if memory dives when I run dbcc check db or take a big backup. It happens. Watch your wait stats.
Ooh, next one's a good question.
You talking about the
Did you
XML
put that
question?
there?
I
think
wish
you did that.
I wish I was that thoughtful. Have there been any improvements with XML shredding on SQL Server 2016 versus 2014? Absolutely, positively not. The last cool thing that XML shredding got, well, there wasn't even XML shredding, it was just XML in general, was in 2012 when we got selective XML indexes. Since then, there has been bupkis, and that is why every time I work on SP Blitz Cache, I have to drink an entire bottle of Lagavulin.
But the other question is, why are you doing XML shredding inside of SQL Server, right? I mean, I understand, Eric, why you're doing it, because it's stored.
No choice.
There's no choice for you, because that's how they put the plans in, right?
Yeah.
But if from an architectural perspective, if you're putting stuff in XML in SQL Server and then you're shredding it inside of XML, why are we doing that? I mean, that should be done on an app server, really. I could do that in the cloud with Lambda or Azure SQL function or Azure Functions, right? So,
I mean, you know, like I used to have to do ETL stuff where I would get an XML flat file and I would import that in, but you know, I would shred the XML in a staging table and then dump the relational data into a table and never touch the XML again.
That's right.
Because XML sucks.
Yeah, I think, you know, it's one of these things where, hey, let's do what each piece is good at, right? So SQL databases, not very good at XML, so why don't we do something where CPU is a little freer and less expensive, right? And that's like in the app tier.
Let's see here. There is a question about alerts. So I've set up high severity alerts for severity 20 errors. Our security team does tests where they send bad packets by design. Can I filter alerts to exclude certain IP addresses so I don't get alerted every time they scan? I don't think so. I don't think the alerts are that smart. I think you either get them or you don't. I would set up an email rule to look for that specific error and have that just send something off to a different folder rather than try to get the SQL Server itself to do that. Next up, quickly glanced the other day email with nolock. Is it okay to use nolock on insert into an archive database where the select from LiveDB is stagnant and won't change? Yes, I don't care. Nolock is a problem when the data underneath it is volatile and you end up with incorrect results. That is my beef with nolock.
Yeah.
It's like I said in the blog post that I wrote. It's the main problem with it is that people misunderstand what it does. They think, oh, I'm not going to take any logs. This is going to be awesome. I'm not going to block anything. But that's not the case. It's just that you don't respect logs taken by other queries. If that's data, that data isn't doing anything underneath, nolock your heart out. See if it makes a difference.
Yeah, I had a large system I worked with, and everything we did was nolock, and that's because it was only additions to the database. There was no updates. None. We understood our workloads, and guess what? We went ahead and used nolock because we could use it with confidence that we weren't going to get anything crazy with it.
Yep. Let's see on down here. Oh, God. Questions. Oh, okay. So when dealing with a hardware encrypted SAN and seeing SQL has encountered however many occurrences of 15-second I/O waits, any suggestions for investigation or remediation? Yeah, again, this is often not the SAN. This is often not the storage. This is often not the disks. This is often the connection between the server and the disks that's the problem. It's you're either trying to suck too much or write or push too much or do both at the same time through too small of a pipe. Right? So you're just like, if you have to read a bazillion gigs or even just like 10 gigs of data across a really small 1 gig pipe, it's going to take you a while. So look at your storage connections, not your storage. Look at the pathing. Let's see here. What does dbcc shrink file actually lock when moving data around? Pages, just like everything else. Can table compression be done online? Yes, you can rebuild an index online in Enterprise Edition. Why don't you just try that? It's just like online equals on with the compression syntax. Just try it. I promise. Promise you can try that on a development server and figure it out. You're a smart person. I know that because you're here and you want to listen to Richie talk.
Yeah, sure. Yep, exactly what he said.
Follow-up question on partitioning. Does partition elimination still happen if you have a seek on a non-aligned index? No.
No.
You're lucky if it happens with an aligned index. Forget a non-aligned index.
Yeah. There was quite a few hints I had to drop when working with that particular system. Hey, just make sure you use this index, please. Thank you very much. Any experience with Git as a code repository? Why, yes. Eric, tell them all about it.
When I hit the sync button, I break something. And when I hit the commit button, I fix something. And sometimes when I make a pull request, everything works. Other times I fat finger something and I do the wrong thing. It's, you know what, Git I'm sure is fine. It's just me. I'm the problem.
Yeah, it's you. I think the big problem with Git is you need to use it every day, and you get used to the Git workflow. And if you're not into that kind of every day, it's kind of rough to, oh, what do I have to commit first? Do I stash it? What's push versus pull and getting all that?
You know, one thing that bit me in the butt when I first started was I didn't realize that after I made a pull request, if I made more changes, I had to sync those changes.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I just thought, like, I made a pull request, I'm working in my repository, everything going to go up to the cloud where it makes everyone happy and they get new warnings about their plan cache crap. But no, I had to keep syncing stuff.
Yep, gotta merge.
Pull request, it was like 5 commits behind, and I was like, where's all the good stuff?
Yep.
Anyway.
Yep, got to merge everything back. And there's some good courses on Pluralsight on that, on Git. What I like is it's not even on Git. It's on Mercurial. It was Joel Spolsky's tutorial on Mercurial. I thought he did a really excellent job. And Mercurial and Git are really side by side. They're very, very similar to one another. So you'll be able to pick both up very, very quickly. I like that one, and I forget what the name is, but it's Joel Spolsky, and he has a tutorial on HG or Mercurial. Those were great. But I also use a tool called Source Tree, and that seems to make things a little easier from a GUI perspective. And I like that a lot. I know there's some folks on this team that don't like it as much, but it makes things a little easier for me so I can see things visually about what's coming up, and I'm not at the command line all the time, although I do use both. I do use both command line and I use the visual source tree. So there you go. So, hey, I got some Debbie's things in here. What's up?
Good for you. Fellow Human says, I've set up 8 TempDB files for 24 cores. Good. Another fellow human says, what do you look for in a senior DBA? I don't look for anything in a senior DBA.
Gray hair. I usually look for the gray hair, and the worry lines. The worry lines are dead giveaway that they've been through hell.
Swollen liver is another good one. They have if their liver is large and firm, that's a good sign. Bloodshot eyes is another good one.
A little twitch. Kind of, you need that little twitch going on just every once in a while, just kind of twitch.
You know what? It's either a facial tick or a hand tremor.
That's how I know. Hand tremors, they're the best ones.
Yeah,
they're the best ones.
Yeah, when they eat potato chips and it sounds like maracas, that's when I know. That's a senior DBA.
So I like to say, well, give me your opinion on ORM, and if they turn red, it's a good one. It's a good one.
Yeah, but it's interesting. It's a good question because in my line of work, not your line of work, but in my line of work, I'll often get on the horn with people who are like, "Oh, I've been working with SQL since 6.5, and I'm 20 years doing development." And I get on within 15 minutes, I'm like, "You may have been doing this for 15 years, but I don't think you've been paying attention.
Yeah,
there's something missing here."
Yeah, I think you're right. Not so much in the dev side because in dev we're constantly learning new things. So
Yeah,
everybody is in year 1, 2, 3, or 4, and then we learn something
sure.
else.
Yep.
But in the DBA data world, you could have that same person doing year 1 for 20 years. So they have 20 years with experience for the very first year. They don't go
Mm-hmm.
past that because they
Yep.
just get comfortable in what they're doing, and they're like, oh, let me check the backups, let me do all this stuff, and then that's it. It's very surface level
Yeah.
knowledge. And if you want to kind of get a really good understanding of how SQL Server works, you got to go past year 1, right? You got to get underneath. You got to get under the covers. You got to get underneath the architecture. You got to do what Erik does up there, and try to understand what all these yields and all this stuff. So if you wanted to be a good DBA, then you're in the right place here, trying to figure all this stuff out.
Mm-hmm. So let's see here. Running SQL 2012 SP3, is it recommended enabling read committed snapshot isolation? No, because you need to test your code carefully to see if it works. We have great blog posts and link fests on read committed snapshot isolation. You need to just go read a whole lot more about it. That nothing I say here is going to make sense to you. You need to go
Yeah,
read and learn.
but we love it here.
Yes,
So,
when it's appropriate.
yeah. And if it's
Let's see.
greenfield, just turn it on when you first create the project in the database. Just turn it on.
Yeah. All right, so let's see. Are there any downsides to not discarding temp tables or table variables when used in stored procs? No, they get destroyed when the session is done. Let's see. You know what? I just want to show people hardware for a minute. I want to show people all the stuff that I've been getting. So this is my CPU. I'm going to cover up the price so no one gets weirded out. This is my i7 6850.
That doesn't look like an i7. That looks like a box.
It's right there.
Ooh,
You can see it. It's in there.
that's getting better.
I promise. And here's what I'm really psyched about. This is the one I'm super into. 128
Ooh.
gigs of RAM. I'm gonna change the world with that, Ma. And then, actually, you know what? The rest of it's kind of boring. I got some hard drives. I got my IC dock. I got my motherboard. I got my case over there that's like 50 pounds, and I'm not gonna bring that out. But these are the things that I'm most psyched on. It's my big honking processor and my big honking RAM. And if I drop one of these, I'm gonna kill myself. So I'm gonna put them down now.
Nope. Drop them. Drop them. Go ahead.
Money. All right.
So this is what came in the mail for me today.
Wow.
Wolverine and his motorcycle. Look at that.
Cool. Oh, check him out. Those big dead eyes.
Yeah. He's gonna scrape your eyes with that one.
That's true. So if people who like the computer part stuff, as soon as I have all the parts, I'm still missing some. I still don't have everything in the mail. I'm still missing my graphics card and my M2 chip and some other stuff. But as soon as I have everything, which is going to be sometime after the 1st, I'm going to have blog posts with all pictures of me opening stuff and putting it together and probably gouging my eyes out while I try to figure this god-awful mess out. What motherboard? I got, oh God, please don't let me drop anything. I got this Asus motherboard, which is pretty cool.
Which doesn't have onboard video, does it?
No, this one does.
Oh, that one does. Okay.
Yeah, I got one that does because I read I saw your comment about that in chat, and I was like, oh, that's probably not a good idea. I got a couple of my discs. I don't have all of them yet. I need 4 more of these 960 gig SanDisks, and those are all going to go in this 6 slot SSD.
Gosh.
I know. I'm
That's
building a server.
crazy.
This is my chance to build a home server. I am never again in my life going to have this good of an opportunity to do this with Brent's money.
And I've even started setting up mine. So
there you go.
A little bonus.
Yeah, I mean, I still have to after the 1st, I have to order the 4 more hard drives and get all that stuff in. Because like when I went to place the order, everything like the low price on most was out of stock on these like shady.ch or CA websites. I was like, what the hell? So like I'd be like, okay, when I had to go and look at real prices for people who actually had stock to send me, I was like, oh, that's like $50 more. So like with tax and then shipping on some stuff, I didn't get exactly what I wanted from the PC part picker build, but I was still pretty psyched about the amount I could get in one shot, and the amount that I'm gonna, and I can just finish up with buying the rest of the parts next year.
So are you gonna, what are you gonna use for the software for your virtual machines?
Well, for VMs, I'm gonna run Windows Server 2016 because I really want to play with some of the stuff in there. There's some cool new features in Windows Server 2016 that I'm gonna poke at. I'm not gonna do too many spoilers here, but there's stuff I want to mess with.
And that's gonna be your base OS, right?
I haven't decided on that. I'd like it to be because I feel like if I'm building a machine of that size, server software is kind of like the legit choice because I'm not going to be playing games, not going to be doing goofy stuff on there. I don't need, I don't need Skype for business.
That you know of yet.
Yeah, who knows? But that's my plan is to make this as server-y as possible, so that I don't even have like the temptation to be like, well, let me see how Team Fortress 2 runs on this. It's gonna.
Oh, you want to.
No,
You want to.
That's why I bought a 512 gig graphics card. I want no temptation here. I want nothing. I don't want anyone. I don't want entering my head.
You know what? In a week, your tech budget refreshes again. It's like
I know.
magic.
That's when I'm going to buy the rest of the drives. Don't tell Brent.
That's when the video card comes in, and Eric just went, bleep it.
Yeah, right. So I've decided to start rendering video, and it turns out, Dooney. Sorry.
We run 5K at 60 frames a second. It's amazing.
Yeah. And this gaming mouse for some reason. I could just plug this one in. Oh, I can't even. Come on, cord. There we go. I got this one here. And I just use this for clicking around. Let's see. We'll do one last question. We have 1 minute left. I need to prove that the systems and SAN people, that it is their infrastructure that is causing the disk latency up to 1,200 milliseconds. And I'm going to. Disk queue length, come on, man. Use a metric that's been relevant since 2003. We are on VMware. What is the best way to do this? Go to brentozar.com/go/CDM. Look for, download a tool called Crystal Disk Mark, and you can use it to benchmark your disks. And what you'll probably find is that the top lines up there are going to be just about what your disk network is capable of pushing. That doesn't mean it's what your disks are capable of pushing. Your disks are probably sitting there going, I don't know. But it's always going to be. This is like the third time this has come up in one go around. It's always the connection between the server and the SAN. It's never the SAN or the server. Some dingbat put a 1 gig iSCSI between the two, and you're getting reads that are like the wagon line out to Catan. It's the slowest thing in the world.
Yeah, a few weeks ago we ran that on a server, and it was like 150.
Yeah.
Tara ran it on her own machine, and it was 450. And a few days later, Nick Craver from Stack Overflow sent theirs out there, and it was like 10,000. I'm like, oh my gosh, these guys, man, they're amazing.
Yeah, local SSD is amazing. I can back up Stack Overflow in like 3 minutes because I'm getting like 500, 600 megs a second just local SSD. I'm like, look how crappy your server is with your $300,000 EMC SAN. It's like, don't tell him. Look what you could get if you spend $500. It all worked out. It's fun. It's funny. It's funny. All right. Someone said GUI or core. Oh, GUI. I can't type. Look at me. Look at these hands. These are not typing hands. Get out of here. All right. We're at 12:46. We overshot by a minute. I'm keeping Richie from lunch, and who knows what else. Thank you all for joining us. We will not see you next week. We will see you the week after. There is no office hours next week. Don't show up. You will be sadly disappointed. Goodbye, and Merry Christmas, and Happy New Year, and drive safely, and to all a good drunk.